Hey guys, Modest Major here. Today, as Halo Infinite draws ever closer to its impending release and another flight is scheduled for its beta on September 24th, it's kind of got my brain gears turning. If I were to look back at my deep and rich gaming history in every video game franchise, I've got a clear standout favorite for each one. One that most encompasses what I truly adore about a series and does the best job crystallizing the elements of what makes the game unique, addictive, or just a standout masterpiece of the series. Starting with Mario Kart Wii for myself was the pinnacle of the series. The map selection felt like it had been curated to give such a delicate balance of, on one side, fast-paced, frenetic tracks for more experienced players to contend with, whilst on the other side bringing cheerful, colourful, beginner-friendly tracks without feeling like the game was ever too dumbed down or too overcomplicated. A huge amount of content without ever watering down the experience, and the killer soundtrack. It felt like it had it all. On the other side, it's Call of Duty Black Ops 1 was also this for me. Whilst Modern Warfare 2 managed to successfully monopolize my dopamine, as though I were but a feeble street roaming heroin addict looking for my next kill streak buzz, Black Ops 1 managed to combine my unhealthy brain patterns with more nuanced gunplay, calculated map design, and in a sea of frustrating Call of Duty games, Black Ops 1 managed to stand out as one of the more fondly remembered Call of Duties, at least in my brain. Gears of War 1, for me, stands head over shoulders above its sequels, with a memorable, eclectic list of maps paired with its unique focus on shotgun-orientated dynamic gameplay. I felt some of its sequels perhaps strayed from its roots a little bit too far, and the overall atmosphere and gritty nature of the game for me felt like it began to take a backseat to capitalize on a more mainstream audience. I felt like the series had lost some of its luster over the years. This isn't me, of course, trying to tout these games as the standout best in show of these franchises, but the reason I feel fairly hung up on these points in relation to Halo is that I find it far more challenging to give a concrete argument on which Halo is definitively the best. I'll come out the gate swinging when it comes to discussing either Halo Combat Evolved or Halo 5 in contention. In my mind, these two have a far greater difficulty being considered as the epitome of Halo gameplay for several reasons. Combat Evolved, perhaps my most beloved campaign for a Halo, I think the structure of the story, whilst simplistic, is the most memorable and well delivered. I don't wonder mid-game why I'm ever on a particular mission or what's at stake, or think, oh, this mission is a total throwaway. It has a lot to offer, and some of the sandbox elements found particularly on the Silent Cartographer maps and Assault on the Control Room missions really epitomize the freedom that the player can work with. I feel like Combat Evolved is more a victim of its time when it comes to the multiplayer. Of course, missing features such as comprehensive online multiplayer. I know that there was online multiplayer on PC, but even then it misses huge features like playlist, ranks, etc. Not only is the multiplayer itself a little bit dated, some of the maps on the multiplayer almost feel like conceptual artwork, like Chiron TL34, and boarding action. Chiron feels like a strange mishmash maze of teleporters. And the spawns in multiplayer, whilst at a high level offering a nuanced, calculated experience for some, for most players could mean being spawn camped painfully without a chance in hell of making it out, making for a pretty dire casual multiplayer experience. Halo 5, my problems come more from flying in the face of the core Halo experience. Having base movement settings allow you to be able to thruster pack to top middle on a midship remake was pretty absurd. And escapes being so swift that the feeling of punishing someone for their bad positioning became a thing of the past, and instead more of a focus was put on extremely fast-paced moment-to-moment combat. I don't doubt that the game had its innate complexities that advanced players were able to exploit in its mechanics at high levels, but when you pick something up, you just feel the difference sometimes. I can try and argue the Halo 5 debate, but I find myself falling short on words a lot of the time, which is rare for me. But you innately know when something feels too different, it crosses the line. Even for me, and Halo 4 in many ways didn't cross that line, too much. I was happy to wait for the tweaks that Halo 4 required from launch, and I kind of knew it was, could head in the right direction. Whereas Halo 5, it felt like I was trying to be tricked. it was kind of had an uncanny valley effect for a Halo game for me, where you're looking at it, but it doesn't quite match up with what you see or want to see. The frustration of a perfect Halo game for me lies in the fact that the answer sits between several games. There's a tiny angry voice in the back of my head, generally represented by 13-year-old me sat in front of my 32-inch HD TV playing Sandtrap Infection with the boys, wanting to scream Halo 3 from the top of his prepubescent lungs. He's more than ready to be muted for his high-pitched, squealy voice, but the joy he has experienced is unparalleled by meager mortals. In many ways, I think he has a point. Guardian, Narrows, Construct, The Pit, Last Resort, High Ground, Valhalla. This short list of maps awakens a sexuality inside of me I didn't know existed. The gameplay was simple but effective, equipment adding a layer of sandbox complexity on top of a weapons toy box that was endlessly satisfying and a journey to master. I started Halo 3 coming hot off grinding Halo 2, top of my game, and the gameplay shift felt drastic. Halo 2 fundamentals weren't going to carry me here, people were hungry to improve, and you had to wrap your head around Halo 3's intricacies to get a shot. 4-player co-op campaign perhaps also shined its brightest in Halo 3. Whilst I wouldn't say it was my favourite executed story, it had incredible set pieces, memorable moments, and perhaps the most adrenaline in certain missions. Halo 2's campaign was high octane also, and I'm quite baffled as to why they never really attempted to recreate, if not even one up, that Scarab mission. The size and the grandeur of seeing the Scarab for the first time in Halo 2 was like something unforgettable. And Halo 3 Scarab seemed to pale in comparison, although to me it was fairly obvious it was a performance limitation with the expanded scope that came with Halo 3's campaign. But Halo 2, for a lot of people, had the most solid matchmaking. If there were to be a big criticism leveled against Halo 3, it's that the projectile hit detection system did not work too favorably with the online, especially when in comparison to hit scan found in Halo 2 or Halo 4, so on. Whilst a great concept it was in theory, and certainly I wouldn't complain about it in an offline environment or LAN, perhaps with the varying connectivity of differing West Coast, East Coast, region-based matchmaking, it kind of accounted for varying levels of bullet travel across levels of lag, and it didn't always result in the most satisfying experience. I do, however, maintain that whilst not as drastic as Halo 3, Halo 2, even with its hit scan matchmaking, did somewhat suffer as a product of its time, similar to Combat Evolved. Some of the features missing from Halo 3 onwards felt sorely missed. Could I even debate a Halo game as my all-time favourite, with features missing such as Forge, Theatre, armor customization, not to mention, whilst Halo 2 Sanctuary, Midship, Zanzibar, Waterworks were powerful maps, in my opinion, they didn't necessarily have the staying power and the comprehensiveness of like a Halo 3 or a Halo Reach, particularly when accounting for Halo Reach's Forge maps, which I'm aware is semi-cheating, but doesn't change the fact that 2 can be hard to like matchmake for long amounts of time. Reach gives me a headache trying to weigh up the various pros and cons. DMR Bloom and Armorlock gave me gamer rage to the point of extreme self-hatred. Lifting up on Sword Base remains one of my all-time least favorite gaming memories of all time. And best believe if you put me back on Sword Base, I'd lift up there like a stubborn fool 10 times in a row just to feel something. Even without DMR Bloom, I look back on the change as a disappointing one. Having a burst weapon being the focal point of Halo, with the battle rifle, always felt like pretty unique. As did the pistol from Combat Evolved. Single-shot rifle fire that thrived in long-range encounters that we see in Halo Reach began to feel extremely tedious, extremely quick. I don't think I've ever really felt a surge of adrenaline from a successful 5-shot on Halo Reach. It didn't get my Halo loins tingling. Whilst Reach brought me all these feelings of inadequacy, on one hand, you still would be remiss to not comment on the incredible potential of Reach's BTB offerings. Spire invasion with Falcons running overhead, frantically trying to run a power core out of a base with elites falling from the sky like carnivorous alien meteors, screaming at your friend to ready the chopper whilst you anxiously navigate a chaotic hellscape of death and destruction, touched upon some of the greatest gaming moments I've ever experienced. Part of me almost wishes Bungie flew in the face of the fanbase altogether with Halo Reach and just said, you know what, we're going to make a BTB invasion game and it's going to be a spin-off altogether. To me, it's clear where Bungie's heart was at. They wanted to do something bigger, something better, and perhaps the limitations of needing to appease the tremendously large 4v4 fan base found in the previous Halos was the straw that broke the camel's back. With Halo 4, I feel like I need to wave down a mob of people with guns pointed at me whenever I come out wanting to speak highly of it. But as time goes on, I experience the occasional fun here and there on MCC. I can't help but sing from the heart to an extent. The launch was terrible, and a lot of the maps were lackluster, but my dream Halo game would take a couple pages out of Halo 4's book. The guns to me are some of my favourite feeling ones. The sniper sound effect is brutal sounding, like it could rip a hole through a jet engine. The shotgun also, you know, being able to sprint up to someone and hear the almost like cannonball effect of it as you just kind of pile someone down. The memorable over-the-top loud cocking noise as you pump it was brilliant. And not only that, the game can be a beauty. Maps like Monolith, Haven, Skyline, Perdition, Pitfall, all were a visual feast to behold. Anytime I was angry at the game, it almost gave me the serene tranquility of looking at a sunset, and I could find myself backpedaling on my potential rage. These do not, of course, make it a best Halo game, but at least for me, it's hard to overlook when evaluating specific first-rate components of a potential perfect Halo game. I'm going to glaze over Halo 2 Anniversary ODST for this video, and perhaps I'll talk about my feelings on those games in a future video if people are interested, but I feel like this video is going to run insanely over time, and I don't want it to be an hour long if I'm not careful. I want Halo Infinite to combine as many of my favourite things about Halo as physically possible, and give me a Halo game that I can say to my friends, oh, Halo, you know, like Infinite kind of cracked the perfect game, the peak of the franchise, you know, by offering the peak Halo game experience both in its multiplayer and campaign options. Not that I'm asking for a lot, like, yeah, absolutely not, but, you know, let me know in the comments if you guys think there's already been a clear definitive peak of the franchise, or if you think Halo Infinite has a chance of snatching that title. I've been Modest Major, thanks for watching.